Tomorrow's reading, the end of Parashat Naso, presents some unique challenges to the biblical commentators. They begin from the premise that the Torah is a sacred document, that every word is divinely dictated to Moses at Sinai, and therefore, whenever there's any sort of repetition or redundancy in the text, they have to find the answer to the question, why? Why is it necessary? And the end of Parshat Naso is especially challenging as it describes the process of dedicating the Mishkan, the tabernacle in the wilderness, and how during each of the 12 days of the dedication of the tabernacle, one tribal leader came forward to bring his offering on behalf of his tribe, which would be fine were it not for the fact that each tribe's offering was identical. So for each of the 12 days we get, and so from the tribe of X brought forward, right? And then you go, okay, day 2, new tribal leader, new tribe, same exact gift. And you're sort of waiting for the Torah to go something like, and so it went for each of the 12 days of the dedication. Or perhaps maybe a list of, and on the subsequent days, so-and-so from this tribe and so-and-so from that tribe. And you're sort of waiting for that sort of condensation of the information. And just to show you that the Torah is capable of it, after having listed each day and each tribal leader and each tribe and their gift, fully, completely, the Torah then goes, and by the way, the summation of all of their gifts was, we got 12 of these and 12 of those and 12 of the other thing. And when they got more of one thing from each tribe, they just did the math. And so it's like the Torah's going like, no. I know how to do the math. I could have given you the short version of it. And so the commentators are going like, farvus. Why? Why does the Torah repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat? And so I want to share with you a couple of their suggested responses and how I think they are meant to try to edify us, even if they are not really necessarily capturing the reasons for the Torah's repetition. One of our teachers, Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, who lived in Germany in the 19th century, writes, each tribe represented a special kind of social activity and function. Each of them brought with them a unique spirit of Torah and used its activities in the fulfillment of the demands of Torah in a way that was different from each of the other tribes. And so he's saying, yes, on the surface, it looks the same. But what underlies it was something unique about that particular tribe. What were their qualities? What were their attributes? And perhaps Samson Raphael Hirsch is jumping ahead to a period of time when the tribes are settled in the land of Israel. And you have one tribe that's settled on the coast. And remarkably, what was that tribe's strength? Fishing. You went into the mountains and they grew apples and olives, which were things that grew in the mountains. And you lived in the valley, and remarkably, they were farmers and they raised wheat and barley. And so, yes, they're all equal tribes, they're all equal partners, but each one develops or accentuates their own unique skill set. And Hirsch then goes on to say, so what does that mean for us? It means that while all of us may perform the same acts, the same mitzvot, the same activities that the Torah mandates, we all do it with a unique little twist. A sukkah has certain mandated requirements, but any person who builds a sukkah doesn't stick to the basics. Everybody puts some of their unique personality into the sukkah. Jody might suggest that I take that a little over the top, or maybe even a lot over the top. But the reality is, our sukkah is uniquely us. But I could say the same of so many other sukkot that we've been to over the years. One of my wife's favorites was we went to a family that used to put up streamers woven into their schach. And what was at the bottom? They tied fruit from those streamers, all right? And at the end of Sukkot, they cut the fruit down to be used the following year. It was fake fruit. But the streamers, the ribbons, were left, which meant that every year they kept adding more and more colorful ribbons to hang their fruit, and the others just wafted in the breeze. And it was created this incredible panoply of color, walking into a rainbow. And it sticks with you. It's like, oh, that was their uniqueness of their sukkah. And we haven't been in their sukkah in 20 years, 15 years. Right? So it just sticks with you because it's like, wow, what a beautiful, unique family expression of sukkah. And that's true for any of the mitzvot that we do. Different, one of our teachers, also trying to answer the same question. The Ralbag, Rabbi Levi ben Gershon, who lives in France in the latter part of the 13th and early part of the 14th century, says the reason the Torah repeats and repeats and repeats, even though they brought exactly the same gift, is that it is meant to teach us the lesson that one person should not try to outdo another in order to boast or to feel above other people. The Torah elaborates on how each tribe brought the same thing in the service of God so as to suggest tamping down natural competitions that can sometimes occur. And our sages there used to be a thing in Eastern Europe called the Council of Lithuania. Now, the Council of Lithuania did not meet the geographic definition of Lithuania. It was a council that of like 4 nation groups, or that covered 4 countries worth of the Jewish people. And what was part of their mandate and part of what they did? They established baselines and ceilings for simcha celebrations, such that, oh, that's very nice. Mazel tov, you're having a bar mitzvah. Mazel tov, you're having a bar mitzvah. Very convenient that you're both here. This is what you do. There are expectations in terms of inclusion of community, and there are also like, no, don't go way crazy trying to outdo last week's bar mitzvah or last month's bar mitzvah. And I have to admit, I didn't, it's not something that I've encountered here, thank God. But in my first congregation, my very first congregation, I'm the assistant rabbi, and I'm talking to a bar mitzvah family, and I'm talking to them about tzedakah and generosity. I'm going like, look, I'm going to encourage you to do 3 things. Like, one is, there was a thing going on with our local federation where they were asking each bat mitzvah kid to put $18 into something or other, and they got a certificate. And I'm going like, okay, so you're on the hook for 18 bucks. That one's kind of a gimme. And then I said, okay, and Israel Bonds is encouraging you as a family to buy a $500 bar mitzvah bond with the idea that when your child is in high school or something, you redeem it, and it's a way of saying, we are planning for you to go to Israel. For they're still okay with me. And then I get to the last one, which is Mazon. Mazon is a Jew, was at that time a relatively newly created endeavor as a Jewish response to hunger. And it was predicated on the fact that in the pre-modern world, when you had a simcha, you literally just invited the community. And you actually set up extra tables for people who were in need so that they should feel like they have a place at the table. Well, we don't do that exactly anymore. And in fact, it's less and less common for us to just allow people that we don't recognize to come in to our institutions, unfortunately. And so Mazon said, okay, we get it. Modernity has changed the reality of stuff. And therefore, we encourage families to take the equivalent of 3% of what they're spending on the simcha and give it to Mazon. 3% is recommended, but it was like, and, we asked that when you do so, we put a little tent card on your table saying that we have given to Mazon in celebration of our child's simcha. And the father looked at me and said, Rabbi, are you crazy? His word, not mine. There may be other things that I do that make people question my sanity. I didn't think that was going to be one of them. Do you know how much 3% is? And I'm going like, yes, I know, 3 out of 100. He says, but no, Rabbi, you don't understand. 3% would be, it was something like $5,000. And I'm thinking, wait a second. 3% of what you're spending on this simcha is $5,000? This was 1986, all right? So that was just the decorations alone, Rabbi, are costing me upwards of $20,000. And I'm just sitting there going like, I have no idea what to say. Or let me phrase that. I knew what I wanted to say, but what I wanted to say probably would have gotten me into a lot of trouble if I didn't say it. And so I said, thank you for sharing. Please, if 3% seems a little much, Mazon is happy with whatever you're going to do. And the opportunity to let people know that you're doing this by sharing those table cards will be a real help because it'll begin to promulgate the importance of this mitzvah. But I could understand all of a sudden why the Council of Lithuania was trying to say, when you're celebrating, it's not a competition. But as I discovered in my first pulpit, it was very much a competition. And each Simcha family got more and more and more enthusiastic in how they went about stuff. Some years later, I find myself in a congregation in New Jersey where we had an in-house caterer. And there were very few limits that he had, but I knew something was up when he came into my office and said, Rabbi, I need you to say no. Like, who are you and what have you done with the caterer? Because the caterer never wanted me to say no to pretty much anything. Rabbi, they're doing a circus theme. I'm going like, okay, circus theme. Yeah, it's not the craziest thing I've heard. Yeah, they want to bring in a pair of elephants. And I'm going like, you know what? I don't need encouragement. No. So everybody realizes that there's got to be a boundary. And so what the Ralbag and the Council of Lithuania were trying to say to us is Yes, celebrate, rejoice, be happy, be merry, include people, include the things that make your simcha unique. But a little seichel and common sense and be a little pragmatic in the process. And the last thing that our sages teach us, and this is from one of my teachers, Rabbi Reuven Hammer, part of what I think the Torah, I'm paraphrasing him a little bit, part of what I think the Torah is trying to teach us is imagine day one of the dedication ceremony. What's the mood? Everybody is hyped up and excited and eager and all sorts of stuff of that nature. Now it's day two. And what have we got? A repeat of day one. Yes, the first day it was mostly tribe A, and in day two is mostly tribe B. But it's still the same group of Kohanim. It's the same group of leaders of the community. Day three, again. And day four, again. Now fast forward to day 12. I have a little Rahmanis for the tribe on day 12. Because by then I'm thinking the Kohanim, the leadership are going like, oh, Ganuk already. Just come on, let's just start using the tabernacle. Enough with this. And so Reuven, Zichrono Livracha, blessed memory, would say, part I think what the Torah is trying to teach us is that there's a real challenge in maintaining enthusiasm from day one to day 12. And even more so when all we're doing is having a memory of what it was like in that moment. And the challenge for us as Jews is to keep the passion we have for prayer, for study, for doing mitzvot as high at all points along the way. Each of us opens the same siddur and says the same prayers. But the reality is, each of us reads those words through the prism of our unique experiences. And sometimes we're a little more excited when we come to shul, and sometimes we're doing it a little bit more out of rote and habit, but something happens while we're there, and it's like you get caught up in the spirit of singing and rejoicing and praising God. So Reuven used to say, that's the secret. It's about doing the same thing over and over and finding a way to enjoy it as a new thing each and every time. So that, he says, is why the Torah repeats itself and repeats itself, because that's the nature of worship and liturgy and religious observance. We repeat and repeat, but hopefully see something and feel something new every time. Amen. Averim, let me invite you to turn back in your Sidurim, and on page 56, we rise as able for Aleinu.